Hey, welcome to pray.boston podcast. We have a special guest with us today. Sam Gibson is at Church of the City in New York. Leads Pray. Do you lead Pray NYC still?
I'm on the pastoral leadership team of it. Yes.
Okay. Pray NYC, a part of the Awaken Network. And so here's what I do. I wanted to just talk a little bit about kind of your personal story, a little bit about the Northeast. Obviously, we launched Pray Boston, similar to you guys, pray.nyc, with a desire to reach kind of our regional area, reach Northeast. But share a little bit about your personal story. You just kind of shared a little bit at our event that we just had, our prayer lab. But kind of give me just a little bit of your personal kind of journey.
Yeah, so you'll pick up from my accent. I'm not originally from New York. So I'm from the southeast part of the U.S., grew up in a good Christian home, but had like a pretty radical walking away prodigal season. Like I was very out into the world. So 19 years old, come back to faith, really have a pretty profound encounter with Jesus. And in that kind of stumble in and unintentionally find myself serving in ministry spaces. In that I've always said that I never planned on being in ministry. I just love Jesus a lot and then kind of like found myself working in a church.
Yeah.
And for years, I really struggled I've been in pastoral ministry for 15 years now. And I love Jesus. I love the church. I love mission. I love discipleship, but I just struggled in prayer. Like I was a prayerless pastor. And for probably 7 years, that was true. And used to feel bad about it. We'll read books about it, like everybody. I've never met a Christian that doesn't want to pray more.
Yeah.
But a few people actually step into it. So I had this pretty profound marking moment with the Lord where he's like, I want to talk to you about your prayerlessness. And it's like, man, Lord, I've tried. Like I've read the books, I've done the stuff.
How old were you when that happened?
So I guess I was at that time. This was 2016. So 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've been serving in ministry, but really just kind of had this encounter with the Lord where basically he's like, I want to teach you how to pray. I want to make you a man of prayer. Yeah. And real simple, but just asking the Lord every day, would you teach me how to pray today? Make me a man of prayer. And then giving God space in my life for him to answer that has really reordered my whole life. And so worked at a church, super large church, but had this like burning passion for prayer and just to see, I think you have a similar background. I've been a part of the best version of church that man can build.
That's right.
And I want to experience the best version of church that God can build. And I think that only happens through prayer.
Yeah. Okay. A little bit about that journey. So you're at Church of C in NYC with John. I met John in 2019. You weren't there yet. Yep. Obviously, you show up, and there's this even leveling up of prayer. Can you share just a little bit about the journey on how, John launched pray.nyc, and then your kind of role in that process and how that kind of came about?
Yeah, so I think, it's so John, when he gives his life to Jesus as a 17-year-old, is immediately in the family of faith you come to faith into really determines a lot about you.
Yeah.
So where he's at has a crazy prayer culture. So from go, he's been praying for revival and awakening since he's 17 years old.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my journey. And what I have found is often people who have like radical burning prayer lives don't know how to teach people how to get one. Because they're just like, they inherited one. Yeah. And that's really beautiful. I'm kind of jealous of that. And so, my personal journey gives me a lot of empathy and compassion for people who struggle in prayer.
Yeah.
Then also I went on my personal journey in growing in prayer. And so I can actually help people on that journey.
Yeah.
And so often my thing is I like to take Bob the builder and turn him into Bob the intercessor.
Yeah,
like just your average, ordinary person, and helping them develop a prayer life, because that's what God did in my life.
Yeah.
And so what I often say is when I joined Church of the City, it's like there's a whole generation. It's like, we should pray, we should pray, we should pray. But there's a few people that know how to teach people like how to actually do that. Yeah. And so I often say I'm just the extension of what's already in John's heart and creating pathways and pipelines for people to experience that and really help bridge. I think there's really the generation above us really had a pretty radical prayer life. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of different reasons, it didn't really get translated into our generation. Right. And so kind of helping create those pathways for people, just taking your average normal person who doesn't think that and then helping them grow in intimacy with Jesus and intercession is kind of really my role, and how we've been like a great pairing together where he's always had this, but didn't have much of a journey of growing into it. Yeah. I've got a pretty long journey of growing into it, and I can help people along the way.
Yeah. Okay. So pray.nyc, obviously John has played a really significant role in my life, personally, corporately, in all kinds of ways. You guys are a few years ahead of us. Yeah. Obviously, John's been in New York City for I think 20 years or something like it at this point. I told you before we got on, like stir us, like stir our faith. What are you guys seeing? We launched Pray Boston this past year. Mm-hmm. We have this desire, right? Yasmin, her team leading that, amazing. What are you seeing through Pray NYC? Awaken Network is another
Yes,
network. Maybe
absolutely.
if you want to mention that, but like, what are you seeing? Like, stir us. How's that been
What's
going?
amazing is, just honor you guys for doing it, because somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's got to say, hey, we need to activate the church to like be a praying church. I often say, like, in my opinion, like the prayer movement is like the underground furnace for the whole city.
Yeah.
And when you can connect the relationships in prayer, you'll just see everything else come to light. Really, the biggest movement we've seen is this past year. I mentioned I was on the pastoral leadership team, is because we had a city father who led a massive prayer movement in the 80s and 90s, who, for a lot of different reasons, it kind of like fell apart.
Okay.
People got involved in it, started fundraising off of not his journey. But one of my best friends who pastors in the Bronx, and this guy came to us and was just like, hey, you guys have been like beating the prayer drum for a minute.
Yeah.
We feel like God is calling us to help rebuild the city altar. Can we join under you guys and just like knit forces? And so we have, Bishop Joe Matera, Fernando Cabrera, and John and myself are like the pastoral leadership team now of pray.nyc. So it actually is made of like, multiple boroughs, multiple denominations. It's multi-ethnic.
Yeah.
Has true relationship behind it. And that has done something where we're right now actively seeing like the relationships among church leaders are moving in a direction we've never seen before. Just this past week, I had 3 pastors call and confess sin to me and ask me to pray for them.
Local, these are local?
Local New York City pastors
Wow.
who were just like, hey man, I'm just like, we're getting ready to lead through this thing. I just, yelled at my family. It's like, and it's like, you're in a really good spot in your city when there's a relationship with other pastors who they can call each other.
Yeah.
And so that's like in the pastoral community, but like when you see the church getting unified in that, Psalm 133, how good and pleasing is it when people dwell together in unity?
Yeah.
And it goes on to say that's where the Lord commands a blessing to dwell.
Yes.
When like God's people in a region are an active, like real relational unity, praying together, shared friendships, there's a blessing that comes upon the land in a profound way.
Yeah.
And so, we're seeing like the citywide, like our last citywide prayer meeting, I think we had like 40 pastors there from different churches who are meeting. We're also just seeing Jesus move in like a profound way right now. In our church context, in the city, but also I think all over in America, we're just seeing an unprecedented measure of faith. Like our last Alpha Holy Spirit weekend, we had 24 people give their lives to Jesus.
Jeez.
We were talking about before that previously, it's like 7. We had every week of Alpha, someone give their life to Jesus from week 1 all along the way. We're seeing people meet Jesus in the streets consistently. Our church, we've had more salvations this year than the last 5 years previously combined. Like it is just out there. You hear this testimony, not just in our church, but all over the city where people are having dreams about Jesus, like every type of faith background. We had someone from a Hindu faith background, a Jewish faith background, Islamic faith background, and then just a secular faith background who I know came to Jesus because of a dream. And so you're starting to see this in a pretty profound way, just emerge in a we have the statistics now where you're actually seeing faith like tide turn up a bit, but then also I think you're starting to see the stories. And what I'm watching too is people not just meeting Jesus, but like their growth in discipleship is actually accelerated as well. Like I think in an awakening season, everything starts accelerating. So I kind of jumped the gun there a little bit, but like I actually think we're in the early stages of an awakening in America. Yeah. The question is, what will we do with it?
We can't force God's hand, right? What do you attribute? What can we do? Like, what do you attribute what we're seeing? What is it that we can do? How do we come in partnership with God in the midst of this?
So I'm kind of a prayer guy, so I won't say this is biased. I'll own this. So our context, like through Awaken Network and pray.nyc, we've helped over 1,200 churches in the past few years.
Can you explain Awaken Network?
Yeah, so Awaken Network is kind of like the global arm of pray.nyc for us a little bit, where just when it starts stretching outside of the city, it's like we want to have a focus in the city, but then also very similar to Boston, like you kind of are a global center. And so you'll have people from all over the world come. And it's just a way that we kind of help strengthen church leaders, encourage them, share resources, that kind of deal. Well, in that window of time, we've helped 1,200 churches start prayer meetings for the first time.
Amazing, dude.
Like Western. And so that's just our little slice of the pie. Yeah. So, right now it's blowing my mind. Like churches that could care less about prayer. Like everyone is interested about prayer.
I know some of these people that you're.
Yeah, and if you were to cut me open, I really think prayer is about like we call altars. Like the altar of the heart, the home, the church, and the region. Yeah, it's about taking back airspace.
That's right.
If you study anything about military, it's like those that control the skies control the war. If you lose the battle in the air, you lose the war and you lose it quickly. Yeah. And I think what we're seeing now in America and in the Western church is there's more prayer happening now than for sure in the last 20 years. Yeah. Because we got so focused on methods, we got focused on models, and now everyone's like, hey, maybe we should give prayer a shot. Right right intentions are wrong. I think there's like we're starting to like we do not war against flesh and blood, but of powers and principalities
Mm,
of the air. And as we start like commanding airspace again, just in having corporate prayer meetings
yeah,
and
just
like
filling
seeking out
air.
and asking God to do
Yeah.
something, that actually only strengthens ground game.
Yes.
And so it's like it's amazing. I think what happens when it talks about the God of this world has blinded the eyes of unbelievers, and
Yes.
there's something not to be too mystical, you see it in Daniel chapter 10, but like when we pray, something happens in a realm we do not see.
Yeah, well, there's
But
a
that realm
shifting.
we do not see,
Yeah.
actually it impacts what we have in the natural. So
Yeah.
that if you were to tell me that's exactly what we're seeing right now, is because as prayers, increasing, we're starting to see spiritual activity increasing, which makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, so I taught on fasting this past week, and we also say this about prayer, but it's this idea that prayer, fasting, like there's a shifting that happens
Yes.
in the supernatural that we can't even quite make sense of, because we want it to be ABC,
Yeah.
like 1 + 1 = 2, but it doesn't really work that way.
No.
Like what you kind of see this activation that happens.
Yep.
Through a life of prayer, through fasting, these habits. Okay, someone had a great question in the prayer lab that we just came from, and we'll that recording will go out. People will get to hear it. But how does most of the people that listen to this just go to our church or kind of following along from somewhere else? Not a pastor, not a ministry leader. What are you seeing in terms of you're on the ground in New York City?
Mhm.
What are you encouraged about when it comes to just lay leaders, just people? What do you say to someone that's like, man, how do I leverage my life?
Yeah, well, I think what you're seeing now is if you give the Lord just a little bit of space, He can do a lot with a little bit.
Yeah.
So often we feel like we've got to make this like massive exchange. Like I need to like stop doing this for 3 hours so I can pray and seek God for 3 hours. And hey, if you're a mom with young kids, that's not realistic. But I think you give the Lord 30 minutes or just a car ride.
Yeah.
What He can do and multiply, like He can do a lot with a little.
Yeah.
And so I think so often we get overwhelmed because we can't give Him everything we want to. We don't give Him anything. And as I'm watching people start giving Him a little bit of something, my commute to work or this different space, you're seeing such an increase in spiritual activity. But what I'm loving right now is honestly how I feel like we're like starting to take ground out in the public sphere once again.
Yes.
I mean, we have prayer meetings there now. We have corporate prayer meetings. I used to spend all my time helping churches start prayer meetings.
Yeah.
Now I'm spending, I would say, almost 70% of my time, where it's like coaching, is helping people who work in financial institutions. Like Goldman Sachs currently has morning, noon, and night prayer happening on the trading floor. JP Morgan has a prayer meeting. Bank of America has a prayer meeting. And it's really helping them. How do I structure this, facilitate that? And starting to see like faith get back into the public sphere in a lot of ways, like public faith, people gathering together corporately to pray. And so that's been so encouraging to see. Even like moms that are gathering at parks, they gather to pray together and they go share their faith. Like we've had 2 nannies lead a mom to Christ. I mean, just that kind of stuff is like, oh man, this is what we're talking about. This is it. Because what often we do is we create the division between mission and prayer.
That's right.
But as you get prayer going, mission only accelerates.
Yeah.
So seeing that happen is so encouraging right now.
Well, and we didn't mention it in the thing that we just left out, but there's so many real intercessors have almost this secret mission place that you don't even know about.
Yes.
That it's like you kind of don't want to talk about it,
Yep.
but you also want to inspire and kind of move people. Okay, that's amazing. This whole idea of people in the workplace in that spirit, or moms, whatever they're doing, moving, I think is really, really amazing. Okay, let's talk about the Northeast for a second. We're in the Northeast. You guys are in the Northeast.
Yep.
It is historically a spiritually dark place.
Yeah.
Now, you love New York City. I love Boston.
Yeah.
I think New York City is the second greatest city in the U.S., right behind us.
I want it. This is your podcast. So
you honor that.
Yeah.
But what do you when it comes to revival history in the Northeast? What are your hopes, man? What do you hope to see kind of happen within our area and region?
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're here in Boston. I mean, you cannot throw a rock without touching revival history here. Yeah. And so there's such a rich well of revival history hitting the Northeast, which is also why I think it's so contested.
Yeah, I think that's right.
100% why it's so contested. Boston is founded as a city on a hill.
That's right.
And I think just the original founding of that, Harvard University, its original, is just to train, pastors and leaders, and so I think when you see some of that, it gives me a lot of hope for, okay, the reason why this is contested is because it's important. You have these like hub cities, God cares a lot about land. Joel 2:18 talks about the Lord became jealous for the land and had pity on the people. And there are like strategic hubs. Like I'm so thankful. My dear friend Zach Mearcreeves, we were just with him this past week. I mean, I'm so grateful what God did in Asbury, Kentucky. But I really feel like God's jealous for like Boston, New York,
Yeah.
London, San Francisco, like these
Yeah.
global cities and global spheres. And when I get encouraged when I look through the revival history and how God has used these places historically to know, hey, this like has happened before. It seems hard now, but also, it tends to be that's when it actually produces a real desperate cry when we recognize, like we were just chatting about, pastoring in the South. You always need God to move, but you almost have like
Yeah.
a formula, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
man, here, like if God doesn't show up, this is not going to work.
We're not.
And I
It's not
think
gonna
there's
work.
what's really beautiful when you get like a region like you get Pray Boston going, and you get church leaders
Yeah.
crying out together. Because honestly, so often we're just trying to survive.
That's right.
You're not contending for a move of God. You're contending. Hopefully, we make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But like, hey, when they start strengthening together, that cry gets desperate enough, God can't help but invade that space. And so
Yeah.
you've seen Him do it here before. I mean, every awakening's touched Boston in a significant way. So, I was studying, preparing to come here, just looking through like
Yeah.
revival and awakening history. It's like, oh man, this is awesome. Like
Yeah.
you can just feel God's
Yeah.
desire to do it again.
There's a packet in when you get back to your place, you'll see we've kind of laid out some of the revival history
I love
stuff,
that.
and it's just amazing when even our city seal, there is this making space for God kind of in our time and in
Wow.
our land, and on the city seal.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were founded as Puritan
Dude,
culture.
on the city seal.
Yeah.
Like, and most people don't even, you don't even recognize that. And
Providence, Rhode Island, I mean, their motto is hope.
yeah,
it's just like,
which is not,
which
is not Providence, Rhode
not
Island
what it is
now.
now. Yeah,
No,
it's so interesting
no.
when you look through and like, okay, there's
no. I mean, and I walk through, and we talk about this some within our church, but not everyone knows it. But even you walk through the Boston Common, Billy Graham, 50,000 people, not that long ago.
Billy Graham stated it was as if the whole city of Boston humbled itself before the cross.
Yes.
What a line.
Yeah.
The whole city of Boston humbled itself before the cross.
And it's John Wesley there in the Boston Common. There's a plaque in my church. Heard me talk about it a lot, but there's a plaque in the financial district. Do you know about this? Have we talked about this?
No.
So there's a plaque and it says, "In this place is where D.L. Moody came to know Jesus."
Wow.
And so D.L. Moody grew up north of the city. He came into Boston. He was working at his uncle's shoe shop. You may know this, but he's working at his uncle's shoe shop. His uncle's shoe shop is in the financial district. There is a plaque on the wall. I walk by it all the time. I put my hand on it, pray.
Yes.
And it says, "In this place is where D.L. Moody came to know Jesus." Right. And so you just imagine and thinking about in the back of that shoe store, the church on the corner. So if you go out here and go on Mass Ave, there's a church over here in the corner, is the church that D.L. Moody was like attending and going to.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a hotel.
And see, that's what I think.
Residence.
I mean, you're naming this. That's what the Northeast has so much of.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be on a train. You can throw a rock and touch something.
Yes.
And so it's like we have these things, almost Ebenezer's of like, hey, God has done this before.
Yeah.
He's done it in almost every generation. Like he has stepped in a profound way. I mean, I think I was reading a stat that like at one point during these movements of God in this region, I mean, Whitfield preached to more people than the actual like whole population of the city.
That's correct.
But there's times that 1 out of every 2 people that lived here came to faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
1 out of every 2.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a paradigm for numbers like that.
Yeah.
But like, what would that like now? Whoa.
Yeah, outnumbered the city. It was shocking to the system. Park Street, Christianity Today, Gordon Conwell. I mean, it's just like a ridiculous. Okay, a few last things here. In your opinion, well, obviously we're longing to see God move in significant ways in our cities. What do we need to look out for? Like, what stops God's way when we do? Like, what is the things that we need to be careful not to do, or maybe to look out for in this?
Well, I mean, honestly, if I could just speak like intercessors in general,
Yeah.
I think prayer people, we got to be real cautious to God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble, and to maintain like, I think you can actually grow in pride pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Biggest fear of my life is that how much I would love the Pharisees. Great prayer culture, great fasting culture.
Hey.
And yet they missed who they were looking for
all
when
the
he
boxes.
was right in front of them. And so I think just maintaining a heart of compassion for other people in the body of Christ, while also, and just people in your city. I often say the worst thing that can happen to us is have an incredible prayer movement in the city and us grow like less compassion for the city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the best measurement of a culture of prayer or a movement of prayer is really the softness of heart that you experience. And so I think, because so often we make it about the next event we're having or the next thing we're having, and just missing people in our midst. And that's something I had to war against actively in my own life. And then I think just the idea of like, spiritual pride will probably be the main thing, but then also I would say spiritual resistance. Satan dreads nothing but prayer. And it's one thing for you to be a person of prayer. It's another thing for you to have a church of prayer. But when you start trying to convene a region, I just want to just look out, because that is what actively opposes. I mean, the warfare, I don't like to magnify it.
Sure.
But it is real. I mean, this is contested space. This is my good friend that serves on pray.nyc with me, Fernando Cabrera. He's like, Manhattan is the crown jewel of the adversary. He is not going to give it up lightly.
Yeah.
Like this is not just going to like, oh, this is, we didn't see this coming. And so I just think it's the spiritual pride personally you got to watch out for, but then also just not backing down in seasons of resistance. That's where I just say, when you've done everything to stand. Sometimes just take ground and then hold ground. Take ground, hold. There's certain seasons like really the past 6 months, we've just been holding ground.
Yeah.
We took a lot before then. It's like there'll be another window to take some ground, but right now we're just holding some. So
COVID we're just gonna hold ground.
I mean, but the fact that you're still here,
man,
what a beautiful testimony.
Yeah.
You're still here.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a long view that number one, the fact that you guys made it so significant, but then now that not only you've made it, but you're launching something that's helping to serve the city as a whole, because this is not this, and it's worth saying, but I know you guys, your heart behind this is not, oh, here's our thing that everyone else can. It's like, no, we actually want to have a thing that can bless the city.
Correct.
And you keep operating that way, and eventually that really will happen. And it helps because church leaders want this. They want someone to help encourage their prayer people. They want places like this to convene. They need it, but they just need someone who's willing to pay the price to see it happen. Yeah. And you guys are doing that.
If the one thing, the conversations we have with a lot of people surround prayer, and if the one thing that we're known for, our church is known for, is prayer.
Amen.
Dude. I'm super, super happy.
My house
will
be a house of prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of
super happy about that.
Yeah.
That's on the front of the synagogue we meet in.
I love that.
In that. Okay. It's always interesting to me when I talk to people within our church who are beginning to press into deeper levels of intimacy with the Lord, or beginning to live missional. There's almost this misunderstanding of, oh, I thought when I did this, that God's favor and blessing would be on me so much that I wouldn't experience the difficulty and the hardship of all of this. And it's just like, hey, listen, it actually, Satan's perfectly fine with you living complacent and enjoying the fruits of your labor and kind of doing that thing. You start pressing in deeper, and it actually get ready for the opposition. In many ways, I think we've done people a disservice by preaching a gospel that it is
gospel.
Oh, dude, it is the good news the most good, true, and beautiful thing? 100%. Yes. But it also comes with it a cost that you look at the life of Jesus, you look at the life of the earliest fathers and mothers of our church. I mean, this is what we're seeing.
100%.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the thing I have to spend the most time working with church leaders and people on in general. Even the guy that's traveling with me, he's a lay leader in the church, but I kind of feel the burden of hey, if you're going to live this life, fair warning, it's coming.
Right, you stir your people in that, right?
I mean, all the time. I let them know, and doing it with other people, I think is helpful when you.
Yeah, let's walk through that. What's helpful?
I just think that at the end of the day, people, one of the adversary's primary tactic is to isolate people. Yeah. And think no one else is experiencing this. And here's what everyone's experiencing it. Everyone's feeling pressure. I was just with a friend of ours, Luke Lefevre, and we were laughing because we were just had a quick catch up. And he leads a lot of prayer revival stuff. And I was like, "Are we trauma bonding right now?" We're basically just we're basically sitting there man, you're getting beat up too. And it's yeah, man, it's really tough. Yeah. And it was just it's helpful when you realize you're not alone. Yeah. And so one, that's just pay attention when you're feeling isolated. Yep. And then also just, I think it's almost a strange thing to be encouraged because you're actually creating movement. Yes. Your life is worth paying attention to now and actually receiving some resistance. And also we know resistance actually only strengthens you. I think so often we magnify and we get so intense, but also just we're given weapons, we're given tools. And it's there's certain seasons when you don't have anything to stand. Yeah. Standing is significant because the ground that you're standing on belongs to you. And he's trying to get you to back down, back away. And just having the radical mindset to I might not always be surging, but I'm just going to remain standing. I'm just going to keep holding this ground. But I often try to how do you encourage people in seasons of resistance? And often when you're doing it with a community of other believers, the most encouraging thing is, we're all facing this together. And it's really helpful.
Trauma bonding.
Yeah, looking out definitely we're trauma bonding. So
yeah, you're all right, how do we need to get at it?
I'll share you the words he gave me. It's
please do. Okay. Let's finish up. So how do we know church, Pray NYC doing amazing things. other ways for people to keep Awaken Network.
Yep.
You guys have got some stuff you're doing through Awaken that people could get involved and plugged in with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you can go check out awakennetwork.com. We have like a membership thing that people can join. That's just basically 3 calls a month where people can lean in if they're like really intercessors in a church.
Yep.
Church leaders are a part of that. We got podcasts that come out a good bit, and we've really, guys like you, and just it feels like God is really breathing on this prayer space.
Yeah.
And we don't have it all figured out. We're a little bit further down the road.
Yep.
And just kind of helping resource and make connections with other church leaders and church planners, really trying to help connect people in that way.
Amazing. And then anywhere to keep up, you're on Instagram, but do you do anything?
I need to get more active in it. I struggle. I always say I'm in the secret place, not on the social place, but
right.
I always have these great intentions, and I'm just like, oh man, it's killing me.
And then you face resistance, and
it's like, let me just get back up. Let me go ascend the hill. But every so often I'm out there. I'm planning to reactivate again soon.
Okay, well, Sam's going to be Sam. You're going to be teaching tomorrow at our church, and so I'm really
honored,
excited about that. And then let me just say, I'll say it tomorrow in front of our church, but just in a public setting, man. Church of the City, pray.nyc, Awaken has been an amazing resource and benefit to us, and it's kept us moving forward. So, thanks for taking a little bit of time and being here. Thanks for joining us. Anything that you need, you can reach us at pray.boston. Sam's teaching, if you weren't there at the prayer lab, it'll be there. Harvest teaching from last month will be there as well. And so anyways we can help you, please don't hesitate to reach out.